Righty, let's see here. Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday, happy hump day, however you want to say that. Welcome to the next Nintex Hangout. This is June 15th. Had to look at to get my date correctly, June 15th. Welcome, glad to be here, glad you're here. Excited about another day. Looking at some things. Actually, just remember that I had to load up the thing for community. So for those that were looking for the Hangout piece, I apologize for that, but that is up there. Do a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. Excited again. Most of you all may have heard or seen a lot of collateral, some information coming out, especially if you've been on the community's homepage about the Nintex Exchange being released. Super excited about that. That is one of the big things. I was working on that one specifically, so really excited about having that come out. And just what that means for the community as far as being able to knowledge share different assets, solutions, and things like that. And actually, it's one of the reasons why today I will be going through and showcasing taking an asset from the exchange and kind of creating something with that. Something I actually had to do internally for some stuff that I was working on, but I'm pretty sure this will be some of the experience I know from being out there in the field and experience of what a lot of other people may be doing, and showing you again just how to use the exchange to kind of get some things done and go from there. So also went through, saw a lot of questions, try to pick out a couple of questions as well from the community that I wanted to try and answer. So hopefully we can get those things done. Hopefully we can get those answers for you. And again, just helping people do more with Nintex and become better experts at solving problems with the Nintex platform. So really excited about that. So with that being said, also found out that Google actually fixed one of their issues. So it's cool on that as far as getting some of that done. So really excited. If you're out there and you're a partner, please reach out to me. If you are a partner, whether you're a solution partner, a LAR, well, really a solution partner or a tech partner, if you've seen this, if you're watching this, reach out to me to find out more information about how to get involved in, or get engaged in the exchange, how to get your solutions out there. We are working on a lot of different things internally and really look forward to seeing how we can connect you with the customers that need solutions that you provide. So if you're a partner, please reach out to me. If you're a customer and you know a lot about Nintex, you have some really cool things you've done with Nintex, reach out to me as well. Let me know and we can get you engaged and on board as well, and become more of an innovator with Nintex so that other people can find out who you are, what you know how to do, and how they can do more of the same things. I've run into this issue as well, so I might as well brief it. I've run into this issue. A lot of people saying, "Well, this is my IP, this is my intellectual property, etc." And I want to kind of take a moment and separate the two. While on many hands there is IP around potentially taking fields or different things like that with Nintex. So you have a form, and your form does, field validation. It may ask for certain types of, information, passwords, whatever that may be, and then you submit, and then you have a workflow that runs, etc. That may, in and of itself, the entire thing may be IP. It may be your intellectual property or whatever. But in the larger scheme of it, when you look at, you have a form, there's billions of forms out here, billions of form things that can be done with forms, HTML5, whatever. Let's take a survey. Just keep it simple. A survey, you have a survey that's asking for specific information. You have some validation on that survey. You want to make sure that they submit at least one attachment, one image or a photo, whatever. So you have some different JavaScript that's running and validating that. That's not IP. In reality, that's not intellectual property. If you were asking for specific fields, the specific field names might be intellectual property, but the larger scheme of that form and what you're doing, getting information and feedback, is not intellectual property. And I go into that because I want people to be free, or to feel free about sharing information or sharing how they did something without thinking, oh, I can't share my company's secrets. If you have a form and your form is really nice, laid out really cool, does some different things, does panels or whatever, and you're like, man, this is a really cool thing, wish I could share this, do one or two things. One, create a new list, change up the field names, possibly if you have to, change up the field names, and then submit it, or say, hey, this is now an asset that can be used is generic. It has title, name, date of birth, whatever, very generic fields, and it's not, related to your company per se or your particular organization or department process, but it still shows kind of, here's some panels that I've done, here's some things that I've delivered, here's how I did validation, etc. And now that asset can be used, or that form, that example can be used without you feeling like, oh, I don't want to hand over my company's secrets. Again, most of the time you probably don't have a lot of secrets on just that form unless something's really interesting going on there. But with JavaScript, with CSS, etc., it's just a matter of someone knowing how to do it and not necessarily your intellectual property. You can't IP CSS. You just can't. You can probably pay somebody or have somebody pay you rather, because you know how to do CSS really well, but CSS itself is not an intellectual property. So unless you create it, which in this case, most of us haven't. So with that, that's my little spiel. To free people up so that they know, as you're doing business process stuff, as you're doing things. I've actually worked with another customer on doing HR onboarding, and they were like, this is my IP, I don't want you to share this on Exchange. And I'm like, no, I can change this, but this in of itself, we didn't do anything different than what I've already done or done before. We just tailored it to onboarding. So there's no IP in that piece of it. It may be you don't want people to understand your process. Well, if that's the case, change some of the names and still be able to share that. So that being said, let's get started. Hopefully that wasn't too much of a soapbox, but the idea is we want the community to grow, and if no one shares anything, then how does anyone know anything? So with that being said, hence the reason why I'm here. I'm sharing something. I'm sharing my intellectual property. No, I'm just kidding. That was actually kind of funny to me. But so let's actually look at the Exchange. Let's see what that is. Let's see what's out there. And from there, let's just kind of get going with the first example today. So I'll present this to everybody. All right, Nintex Xchange is pretty cool. Actually, I have that set on custom code. We have a PowerShell app, PowerShell action rather, from Data One. They uploaded one in there. I appreciate that. I actually worked with them on getting that in there. Panels, UI magic. We have different things, UDAs, solution from Point Beyond. Actually cool. Multi-step form in Office 365. We're actually looking at one of those today. Convert forms to PDF with a workflow, and that centers around taking a form that you have, using some data automation or document word automation to actually convert that into a PDF. It's not what you would think, similar to what InfoPath does. It is not in that capacity, but it does allow you to do some of that stuff. Business days, Terminator workflow instances. That's actually pretty good. I believe this is a PowerShell. No, this is a UDA. Sorry, it says it right there, UDA. But this one is around using the UDA to actually go out, query for old instances of a workflow, and then terminate those. That's really helpful if you have been doing a lot of development work, or if you're even in production, your production environment's been running for, say, a couple of months, and you have a lot of workflows or even one main workflow, and there are old instances out there. That's something definitely to use. Archive a list item with its workflow history. That's another one as well that is very beneficial. I believe that one was done with via Vadim. So thanks for that. There's a couple other things out here, so we can definitely look and see those. But the idea of the Exchange is to surface these up so that you can find them a lot easier. One of the things I know, when I come to the Exchange, I particularly look for a lot of things custom code. I know how to do a lot of things with Nintex, but the custom coding piece is where I want to try to find really quick shortcuts to doing a lot of this stuff a lot faster. One of the ones that I created, because it was one of those things that I needed, was around email validation. I had a form that I was working on, and the point of the form was to enable someone to put in an email address, and I wanted to just validate that this was a legitimate email address. I didn't want to validate where the email was. If it's Hotmail, Gmail, I didn't want to do like a blacklist, but I was, I want to make sure this is this email address is actually an email address, not just text or whatever. So I did a basic validation, and it uses regex. I walked through how to get that done here. You can see right here, you can actually see kind of a quick walkthrough of that as well. So really, really interesting, very simple, very basic, and something that I'm actually going to go over today is how do you apply JavaScript to your Nintex form. So it's really awesome. We're going to start from scratch. We're going to actually build a multi-step form as well, which answers one of the questions that I saw in the community. So, you know, everything has a purpose. So let's get started. So actually, one of the things I wanted to do is actually bring up a question. And the question was from Rick. Thanks for submitting the question over into the community. It said, you know, multi-step form issue. So he's found an example on here, and what he's run into is this is the form when it initially loads. Pretty cool, pretty straightforward. It says on the next page, he clicks this, and that's what happens when he clicks next. And then when he clicks previous, comes back here. And he has to scroll down. So there, that looks like, actually, this is kind of funny. I actually think I know what may be happening. Might not be true, but from the looks of it, and I just saw this, it looks like that his script and his panels may not be set correctly. You might be asking or wondering why, or what does it mean? And we'll go through this shortly. So let's actually build a live example for you from scratch, so you don't think that I'm actually doing anything crazy. I'm going to add a couple of fields to this list. If I can think of what to add to this list, random fields. I want to know my manager's name. Actually, let's try to do this as a product. So product name. And the idea of this is that we'll fill out a form, and then based on the form, we'll go to the next section, and the next section asks us to fill out some product information. How about that? So product name, product description. I'm not going to make any of this required. Actually, this is a single line of text. And let's do product quantity. Let's see here, do quantity. But when we look at this, quantity, there we go, and we'll leave that as a number. Awesome. So when we look at this, we want to have some basic information, and then we want to have next to get some additional information. I can tell you I have not done anything with this, because why? I haven't done anything with this right here. The form will load up and you'll see just a basic form. It actually should not even have, it did add it because I haven't used it before. So this is from scratch. This is how the form looks from scratch. Awesome. Everything's in here. Now let's see, how do we set this up? Well, I know that there is something in here on multi-step forms. So let's see if we can find it. It's not custom code. It could be listed as custom code, but it's not custom code. If anyone was out there that could see it and tell me where it is, I actually saw it earlier. I know I saw it earlier. Let's see here. Where did it go? Design multi-step forms. There it is. Oh, it's interesting. I was thinking it was for on-prem. It's actually for Office 365, so it would have showed up if I would have selected 365. The Exchange is working as it should. Awesome. So multi-step form for Office 365. That's where it is. So I click on that. I'm actually going to close this one down. And here's an example of one that walks us through some steps. So I can now look at this, walk through these steps, and I should be able to implement a solution at the end of it that gives me a multi-step form. So basically it says go from one to the other, and also has some JavaScript in here as well. Cool. So let's see if we can implement this. Actually, there we go. Based on how to do this. All right. So let's walk through these steps really quickly. First thing I want to do is actually modify my form just a tad bit. That's not what I wanted. That was what I wanted. I wanted layout settings. I want to make this form just a tad bit easier to use. And I'm going to do that. Right. Yes, modify. Okay, cool. So I have a little bit more space to operate in. Let's bring this down and bring that in. And I want to bring a panel in. And why am I bringing a panel? I want to make the first part of the form, this piece. Let's bring this to the front to just manipulate it. So I want the title, the comments, the name field, and the status. All that is going to be a part of the first part of the form. So this is going to be page 1 maybe, or something like that. Actually, I could do this, and it will put it up there, right there, see? All right, so let's bring everything in. Make this a little bit bigger, make that easier. I'm gonna send it to the back now, and I'm gonna grab all my other columns. Now control, whoa, that didn't do that one right. Control, it's not liking me today. There we go, there we go. Just bring that on in. So you can tell that your columns are inside of the panel because it turns into like a solid gray. So we'll just adjust these really quickly. And you don't have to do this, but I like to have things kind of looking very nice and neat and not be heavy-handed on my buttons. There we go. Alrighty. Not so pretty, huh? We'll get this fixed in a second. Get that down there. There we go. Alrighty. So really quickly, just made some adjustments. We threw all of this into a panel. The next thing that we want to do here, and I just did page 1, you don't have to do that. I don't recommend it, honestly. It's not necessary unless you're doing styling. I'm going to do a couple different things just to show that we are doing this as 2 different things. I'm going to also add a button in here, and this button is going to be called Next. So it's going to be JavaScript, a JavaScript button. We're going to call it Next Page, or let's call it Next. Page is the label. And slide that over right there. And so that worked. Bring this over to the edge there. Bring this back over some. Okay, so next page. Now we're going to repeat part of that. I'm going to get rid of this because I know I don't need that. And we're going to bring another panel in to do a similar thing. And this is a part of your setup. We're wanting to set up the 2 pages. So we need to bring our panels in to do that, and that's how Nintex utilizes kind of paging, similar to what InfoPath did with views, but a little less codey or code level. I mean, a little less as far as being able to manipulate a code. You don't necessarily need to do that. It's achieved. I can get everything to work. Something is going on with my keyboard, so I apologize for that. There we go. So let's make sure this, so it turns solid. I know this inside there. Another way you can check that is to, if you have everything in there, click on it and all the boxes around each of the items should light up. If it doesn't do that, then one of the items, let's show you how that works. So say I drug that in and it didn't work, whatever. If I click on it, you can tell this one is not a part of that. So that's another kind of quick way to check and make sure that everything's there. Actually, let's make some room because I'm going to do the same thing. This will be page 2, and I'm going to give it a page 2 title. Warning, publish, disable. Publish has been disabled. The following letters have incomplete configuration. Desktop. Interesting. Oh, yes, of course it does because I haven't finished. All right, so we're looking at this now. Let's get these things lined up really quickly because I like things to be orderly. Quick. Page 2. Other thing we'll do with page 2 is we'll add some buttons, but let's make this a different color so that people can't say, hey, you're doing something different, you were manipulating it and it wasn't really there, etc. So bring this down, we'll do save and submit. Bring that in. One thing about changing the color is when you do that, you won't be able to see if it's in there. So just something to be aware of as well. I'm going to remove that. I'm going to do that. I actually am going to copy this button because copy and pasting is a lot faster sometimes. So bring that back in, and we'll shrink that over just a tad bit, and we'll bring this over. So it'll be next page. This will actually be previous, and we'll give it a name of previous as well. Oops, previous. So next page, previous page. Actually, you should probably put page in there. And the previous page also has a save on it as well. How cool is that? All right, so now that we have kind of the base structure of it set up, we know that we want to collect, you know, the title, comments, all this stuff, and then here we want some more product information on that. Let's see, what else do we need to do? I know we need to add the JavaScript in there, so I'll actually do that. I'm going to bring this over into Notepad so you see it. So right here, Notepad, it shows us that we are trying to create a function. The function says go to step number, variable hidden text box, workflow, grab the ID of that and set it. So, and then it says form fill a process on change in the text box. So that's JavaScript. That's some JavaScript that we can do. Where do we put this JavaScript? Is a really good question. When we're working with forms, if you go to form settings, not layout settings, but form settings, there's a place called custom JavaScript. There's a couple of places in forms that you can put JavaScript. This area here applies to the entire form itself. Really cool. We're going to just throw that in, copy and paste it. But this applies to the entire JavaScript. This applies to the entire form itself. The purpose behind this, the reason why we want to do this here is we want to be able to call this from any of our form controls. So again, this is the reason why we put the function at the form level. You can also put JavaScript at an individual item level. So I'm actually going to go to, just pick one randomly, a text control box, and if we go down to advanced, we can actually, validation. You can actually do custom validation and do a validation function here, so you can call JavaScript here as well. I'll actually show you what I need to do. So on the button is JavaScript. We're telling it we want to load JavaScript to there. We want to then come here and say, yes, we want to client click. We want this to say go step 2. And the reason for that is I want to call this function go step and then the step number. Remember, that was the number that we were setting inside of that. Let me pull that back up really quick. So here, go step is the function and step number. So I need to set step number. I'll be doing that, but go step is the step number. So I'm going to be calling that with this button. Let's see, not connected. Doesn't need anything else. Good. That looks good. See, it actually cleared that out. There's something else that I need to do, but let's complete the configuration of this. We're going to do a very similar thing here. It's JavaScript there, advanced. We want to say go step 1. So what this is looking like is on previous, I wanted to go to step 1, and on next, I wanted to go to step 2. Pretty simple, right? Step 1, step 2. So this, go to step 1, that, go to step 2, or page 1, page 2, however you want to say that. So now that we've done that, let's do a little bit more stuff. This is actually something that is necessary because you kind of need it to at least do your settings. So this, we need to call it hidden, and this you can actually find on the example, which is right here. He walks through all of this, so I'm actually doing a lot of that, and I'll be reformatting some of that. But here, so we want to do that. You want to do a hidden text box, and you want to have this default value set to 1. The reason for the default value set to 1 is that when it's set to 1, it's going to be used in a rule to actually do some manipulation. Pretty cool. The next thing we want to do here, though, is we want to also do on validation, we want to store the JavaScript variable ID, and we want to actually create this for hidden txt box ID. Oops, ID. And the reason for doing this is, remember so let's pull this back up. I don't want to assume. So here we want to say if function goes step 1, step number, the variable in hidden box, so we just created the hidden box here, text box, the variable in the text box, we want it to equal the ID. So equal the ID. So we have it, the default, if we look at this, the default value is 1. If that's the case, based on the process on change, so when this process on change, when we change that button, when we click on previous or next, so previous says go step number 2, next says go step number, actually go says step number 2, previous says step number 1. But when we do this, we're going to actually modify that number. Modifying that number, let's not do that. Modifying that number is going to set the ID, and we need to be able to capture that. So that's why we're storing this as a variable. Pretty simple at this point. Everything's kind of going as we need it. Save. So what we're going to do is I'm going to actually leave that on top. That the instruction says, throw it in the background so you can't see it. I'm gonna leave it on top so we can actually see what is this thing actually doing. So let's see, is everything else in place? So we got page 1, page 2. We set our button on 1, and we set our button on 2, and then we have that. And then let's just make sure, for sanity's sake, we did add our JavaScript. We did right there. Awesome. So let's go to preview mode. Yep, that should be good. And let's see if this thing actually works. Awesome. Wow, that's kind of weird. It has a really big blank in there. I know a couple of things that I need to do for that. No big deal. Let's see if this works. All right. I forgot. I got to do that too. Don't like to do required fields when doing this. So, not looking quite nice. So there's a couple things I need to do here. So I'm going to save this, and I need to go and rescue my list because it has some fields that need to be modified. So give me 1 second. When working with forms, one thing to note, multiple lines of text, it's easier if you leave them as plain text, not as rich text. That is actually going to be an answer to another thing as well, another question that I saw in the community. So let's see here, make sure that I don't have anything else in there, because that was a little bit out of the way I like to operate with forms. We're going to do this. We're going to actually set the form as well. I'm going to go back to layout settings and shrink this down some. Oops, layout settings. I'm going to shrink this back to 720. Oh, that was so not cool. Let's undo that because I did the height. Let's leave that there, and that goes at 7. There we go. Okay, a lot better. Should be easier to look at now. Generate preview. The fact that we saved it is one thing, so that actually works. So cool. All right, so now looks a lot better. I forgot to undo that one, but that should be fine. And if I hit next page, it's not really doing anything. What's going on? Well, I got an idea. We've told it to move, but we didn't tell it to hide. And so that's actually where the rules come into place. Did that on purpose. So we want to do hide page 1. And this is going to be a basic rule. If, and we're going to go up here and grab if the display mode is correct, or if it's false. So if it is not on display mode, then we need to set, based on the hidden text box, not equal to 1. So on hide step 1, hide it if it's not equal to 1. Very simple, right? Hide. All right, cool. So we got to do the same thing to this one as well then. Add hide H2. I need to go in there and make sure that I named that correctly. If is display mode false, Name controls, remember to use name controls when doing these. It's a lot easier to use and it actually works. There we go. And we're going to do the same thing, hide. So now when we run this, technically this should be showing, this page 2 should not be showing at all when we load this thing up. So let's look at this and see. If anyone has any comments out there, let me know. Feel free to put them in the video or in the Google chat session if you want. So we did accomplish something. We have this loading. We noticed that our hidden text box is 1, and that is there. Oh, we don't see page 2. So now if we hit page 2, I keep forgetting that. Again, the other reason why not to have the validation on that. What am I doing? Okay, so let me actually take that off, because again, let's go back one more time. I had this working earlier with a different one. Let me take this thing off here. Required fields, no. It's amazing that SharePoint requires that on some things. All right, let's try this one more time. And then I need to go back through all my steps to make sure I did everything. All righty, so if I go, let me just make sure I did that. So this one is set. There's a rule on this. It should be a rule. Actually, that's not what I wanted to do. Delete rule. So the rule in this, it says hide page 1 if display mode is false and its box is there, hide. Let's actually see, where is it when I need it? Okay, there you go. And hide if that is hidden text box -2, hide. Yep. All right, so that should work, correct? Everything looks good. Let's actually preview it. Oh, sorry. Close, preview. Let's go display mode. Nope, we want to do new mode. Alrighty. So next. Ooh, there's something with my code that is not working. Interesting. All right, so let's look at this really quick. Let's see, make sure I got everything in the right places. Go step, everything, hidden text box ID, hidden text box. Actually, I've done this before and realized that I actually didn't have my name correctly. I didn't. Awesome. Be sure to make sure that the names of things are actually set correctly. That will go a very long way in using stuff. Your JavaScript is based on naming conventions. So just make sure that stuff is there. So let's see if that picks up. It didn't. Name controls. So I'm gonna have to fix that. So that's why that wasn't working. Sometimes it takes just looking at things closely. There. And check that out. Alrighty. So that'll work this time. Do that. Name control. Make sure that, oops, not sure why that did that. But make sure your JavaScript is actually calling the correct fields and things of that nature. All right, so should be good. Preview, that should matter. Edit mode. Will we have, cross your fingers, and voila. What is going on? This is so awesome. Let's see, what have I done here? Make sure that I am not tripping myself up on that. That is good. That should be working as well. This is the fun part of doing things live, is you have to do everything correctly. Make sure that is good. Hidden text box. Actually, I needed to check this. That's incorrect. So make sure again, all your field values are correct. I'm going to actually copy and paste. so that I can avoid a mistake on this one. Alrighty, bound to work this time. Should work. Should have known that. I've done that before. There we go. I've done it before. So looks good, huh? All right, and what you can see if you look up here, you see that it's actually setting that value, and that value is allowing it to be manipulated so that it can then go from previous to next, and then the save obviously on this next one will definitely save the form whatever was in it. So that's how you would do a multi-step. Where is this at? So that's lots of fun. Sorry about that. It's a little hiccup there. But that's how you do a multi-step form. The idea behind a multi-step form or doing kind of multi-page, multi-panels is that you want to have, so say you want to have information in one area. So it's for, that you don't want this very long form. That will be one of the biggest ideas. You don't want this long form. You want to have this form, and then inside the form you have different steps. So this asks for this information, say, your profile information, who you are, where you live. And then the next one says, okay, so who you are. I'm Eric, tech partner evangelist, and I'm a male. Great. Next one would be, where do you live? Well, that's the next page. So where do I live? Here's my address, Washington State, etc. And then it says, what are my hobbies? That could be another panel. What are my hobbies? And what you can do then is actually repeat the function, and the function just adds more steps. And so as you step through, you use different panels for those steps, and the form product will handle consolidating or kind of compressing those areas so that it only shows the relevant ones at that time. So that answered the question that was posted by Rick on, why am I not able to see this, etc. The panel may not be pulling in the right things, and or you're not hiding that panel correctly. It gets very complicated if you try to do tabs and buttons. It's doable. I actually was starting to work on some of that and didn't complete it, so that's one of the things I actually need to do. Got a lot of stuff I got to complete, but around that, that's how you would achieve multi steps. So with that being said, I'll actually pull up another one and actually go through that really quick because it's so much fun to do that. Go through another thing that I created in Exchange around email validation, which is this one right here. So let's add email validation to this form really quickly. So we aren't doing email anywhere. Let's see, can we do email somewhere? Let's convert name field to email. Why not? Really easily. Why not? So email address. Cool. And let's see here. So based on this, we'll need to do a couple things. It says open the form, select the field you want email validation on, go to the more settings, validation, regular expressions. So that means that is built into the actual product. Kind of cool. So I'm double click on that. I don't have to. I could go double click in more settings. Either way, it takes me to the same place. I want to do validation, or is it advanced? It is advanced. Man, how did I quickly forget what I was doing? All right, there we go. Sorry, had a brain freeze. There we go. So I want to do that. I want to grab, wherever this thing is, a very long regular expression string. And I'm going to throw this into Notepad because I want to make sure that there's nothing else on here. There we go. And the function I want to do is load all that in there. Wow, that looks like a lot, but that's all I need to do, and say, please enter a valid email address. You can actually do this, or do example email at email.com. Kind of cool, huh? And save. Very simple, easy to do. You think this works? I think this will work. Let's go to preview. and see if that was that easy. Make sure I did every step. Save the form. Don't forget to save after modifying it. Yep. So let's go here. Ooh, what happened? Wait, what in the world just happened on that? That was weird. Let's actually save and publish this because I think trying to do it in that view with the multi-set was probably not a good place to do that. So let's see what happened on that. New item. It may actually be because, oh, that's what happened. So if I do test, some comments, okay, history. All right, do next. Simple. I actually don't have to fill all it in. It should throw an error. Ah, it didn't throw an error. Oh, that is so not good. Not good at all. What in the world? That means I didn't do something correctly. Don't do what I just did. How about that? No. That was weird. It should have worked on that. Make sure that actually took. Validation, use custom validation. Yes, use that. Weird. Why did that not work? I've done that before. Input this for steps, open the form, save the form. Validation. Oh, you know what? I'm not doing that on the correct thing. Oh, you know what? Actually, that's my fault. Sorry, people. If you look at that, I actually am doing the right thing in the wrong area. This is calling a function. That's not going to work because I didn't load a function in there. So that definitely won't work. Let's do single line of text here. And let me make sure that that actually is email. Do that. More validation. Here's where I wanted to do it. My apologies for that, everyone. Please provide a valid email, e.g, and we can do a name at email.com as an example. So my apologies on that. Yeah, we need to be able to do that there, not using custom validation, which is a function. So I can call a function. I could do that if I wanted to, and I could put the regular expression inside of JavaScript and wrap that up and put that inside of the actual start of the form, but not necessary for this. I'm going to do a couple things, formatting. There we go. And test this. That was really interesting. It's always good to take time and make sure you're doing everything correctly. Test, Eddie test. There we go. So I know that that's there. I can do a test there. Next page, and I'm going to save. Please provide a valid email address. Now, what would be really cool, so it highlighted that, what would be really cool is if in using a multi-step form, if there was an issue, that I could have it prompt and actually go back to where it is. And you can do that. I haven't done that yet, but that is something you can do. You notice that I put in at email.com. Just for the at symbol, it validates that it is there and it submits it. So again, the way you would do that, more settings, validation, it's a regular expression. You can find the regular expression right here. I have it pasted there, long thing, throw it into Notepad and then continue on your way. So that is another way to do, see, hopefully that was being shown. That's another way to do email validation to on a particular column. There's a lot you can do. There's a lot of regex expressions out there that are available. You just got to figure out how to apply them and use them and validate them. So it's pretty cool. We actually have some more. So here's a couple other So regex, you have replace text, extract text, splitting text. So those things again that are available in the Exchange. All these things are in Exchange. That's the one we just used here. 3 people like it. Hooray. But that is something that is available for you. All right. So with that being said, let's look at a couple other questions. Got a little bit of time left. Look at a couple questions really quick, and let's see if we can get some answers for some more people in the community. How to change the default text formatting on a multi-line control. Sammy asked this question, says, have a multi-line control field. So this is a multi-line control field on the form, and he wants to change text format to have less space between each line. How do I change that? Let's actually look at that. That's kind of interesting. So I'm going to publish this. I want to see what that does. I have a thought, but thoughts without action doesn't really mean much, right? So let's actually see if we can try this out. Let's go with here. So comments, this is line 1. Enter, this is line 2. This is line 3. I'm only hitting enter once, and I'm not having any issues. So that's kind of what I thought. Let me do a little bit of manipulation here, and let's see what happens when I do that. This should pick up. I don't have to go back into my form to do it. It should pick up. It's going to look probably horrendous because it actually does it, and that's what I thought it does it within itself. So it's a little longer, but line 1. So what I am noticing is when I use enhance, it gives me that line break. But there's an option there. I should be able to do view HTML, and I can see that it's doing that. And so that's something that if you want to use HTML on it, you can. And if you know HTML, you could then do this little guy here. I believe we are. Nope, no. It's actually the other way. There. And I'm going to delete that. Do that. Update. So there you go. Gives you the ability to do HTML if you're using that. You can do that. It's interesting why I threw that in there. But yeah, so that could be one thing. The other thing I would recommend is just simply using the plain text if you can get away with that. I'm going to try to change this to one more thing. To look, instead of doing enhance, just do rich text to see what that does. Yep. So see if this is fun, see if this works. Load that in. It's been a good day for forms. Same thing, rich text and enhanced text. Rich text gives you the ability, it should give you the ability to do HTML in here. I've seen it before, but you should be able to do that. So actually just paste that in. This is line 3. This is not cool. I did not like what just happened. But what I could do is plain text is grab all of that, format it, and throw it back in. Delete. Because why? I knew that I could do that. And there you go. So the idea on this is to use plain text if possible, unless you need absolute formatting control. So that will be the answer there. I'll post that answer in so that he can see that, and hopefully that gets you going on that. The other one, we did answer this one as well. I'm going to post a video on this to show the examples. So I hope that helps out for those. And let's see here. Actually, I want to show something. Let's see, item not downloaded. I was looking for some other questions. I found one. It wasn't really a question. Well, it was a question, definitely. But I think there's a really cool solution that happened on this. Something that I haven't thought of, but that doesn't mean that I know everything. says it wants to generate a button label dynamically from a form. Pretty cool thought here of, you know, if you change, you know, some options, whatever, change the button and the button should do something. I'm thinking the button would do the same thing regardless of what the label was, but maybe that changes as well. I'm not really sure. But anyway, so they actually worked through a lot of solutions, and I believe Jan was able to actually figure out how to do that using some JavaScript, using a function and some CSS on the labels to get that to change. So I reached out to Jan to see if that was something that we could look at and see if we can get that added to Exchange. Pretty cool things. But again, this brings up the whole purpose of Exchange, where you have the an asset or something like that that is available, something that's done by someone in the community or a customer or partner or whoever, and it's a really cool idea, and it's something like, man, I didn't know I could do that, or I knew I could do that, I just didn't think about it. In my case, actually, I knew that could exist, but again, didn't think about it. And it's one of those things of, if someone can take something like that and do it, how much more could our forms, our workflows, things like that be better enhanced by little things, little tricks of the trade per se, that allows us to do things a lot more efficiently, a lot better, add more styling, makes it a little bit easier for customers to use, etc. So again, that's one of the main reasons and purposes behind doing the exchange and getting assets and things loaded. So really excited about that. And as we do a recap, I answered 3 questions, so I'll get those in there, or 2 questions rather. So I'll get the updates into the community for that. But again, the idea of the exchange, go through it, find it, search it. If you have ideas, submit them, send them to me. I'm actually going to be adding a feedback section to Exchange today. Actually, I'm going to do that today. Had it on my list to do a while ago and need to do that. But so we'll be having a feedback section out there. So if you have any ideas or comments, or if you have any suggestions for assets, you can use that feedback session, and then other people can see it and vote it up, etc. So we'll be putting that out there. But other than that, I mean, it's a really good example of how we as a collective community can do a lot of things a lot easier and faster, a lot easier and better, more efficiency. The more efficient and proficient we are, the better our solutions are, and the more productive we are. So really excited about that. Looking forward to seeing what else comes out of a lot of these things. It's just it's a lot that can come out of it, but want to get more from you all on it. And oh, I can't forget, I have to do this because I will be in Toronto during the next Hangout. I think that is the next Hangout. Let me look at the dates. No, the next Hangout will be on July 6th, and then after that, I will be in Toronto for WPC, World Partner Conference for Microsoft. So excited about that. If you're a partner and you're going, tweet me at eharris04. Let me know you're heading out there. Would love to see you stop by the Nintex booth. We have a lot of new stuff, cool stuff coming out at WPC. You don't want to miss it. Please, partners, please connect with us, get involved. Let me know, connect with me. I definitely want to know who you are, where you're at, what you're doing, and how we can make your job more successful, your work a lot easier, and make our partnership even better. So definitely let me know about that. Looking forward to seeing those that I do know are heading that way. But again, if as far as Exchange in the community, really loving what's happening, what's going on today. We got a lot of people over, I think, I want to say, if I can say this number, one day we had over 8,000 people looking at different things. We've had lots of people downloading stuff from Exchange. Please, 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 if you download something, put a comment out there. But one thing on the comments I would say is, you know, when you do your comments, you know, saying, hey, this is great is awesome. But instead of just putting, hey, my comment, this is great, rate it and put that as a comment. Actually, let me just show you how to do this really quick. There we go. So let's do this. Share. I'm gonna grab this one. I'm going to add a rating on my own. This is going to be, is this actually even legal? I'm just kidding. It's exceptional. I'm doing it because I can. So if you have like, hey, this is an awesome thing, write a review. It's very simple. Comment on your rating. I have used this asset on 5, and I've actually done this different forms since I found it. awesome to use, and this rating is being done as an example. Hashtag Nintex Hangout. So I just wanted to do that, and I created a hashtag. Why not? So that looks a little cheesy. I might have to go in and actually delete that because that may not fly too well. Anyway, so but I mean, what can you do? I created it because I found it, and therefore it's out there, and I wanted to comment on it. So, anyways, so if you have a comment, rate and provide your comment there. If you have questions or updates like this one, that is where we can get more information, more feedback, and get, make sure the comments are building on itself, making things better and things like that. So that was one of the things I wanted to showcase on that. Not a bad thing to make comments, but how do you get technically better if you don't provide technical or more, more detailed information around certain comments and things like that. So if it's just a rating, hey, I like this, I really appreciated that, etc., like it and add a rating and comment on the rating. Other than that, I appreciate it. I'm glad to be a part of this community. Definitely excited. May not look like it. I'm excited. I'm hugely excited about what is going on in Nintex. We got a lot coming up. Stay tuned. SharePoint 2016 is out. Nintex 2016 is coming. So be on the lookout for that as well. There are some updates to Nintex Forms and Nintex Workflow. I know because I had to go and update my tenant in Office 365 today. So look for something on that. And other than that, that's all I have for you today. We'll be doing some editorial things around Exchange, looking at probably doing a WPC. I may do an announcement before on the top rated assets. So that you know what's being used, what's really cool, what's really liked. So if you're a partner, get your stuff in. If you're a customer, get your stuff in. If you're a partner or a customer, find stuff, use it, comment, rate it, like it, share it. That's all I got for you today. Really appreciate everybody. Looking forward to the next time we hang out again. And until then, first and third Wednesdays, remember, first and third Wednesdays, 9 a.m. Pacific time, whatever that means globally, that's what it is. But we'll see you soon. Thanks again, and have a great day.